Ladies and gentlemen, listen, thanks for joining us on Shakey's Journeys. This is going to be a quite personal pod for me. Got Chris and Tom Sole on the show today. And obviously being Phil Staggs, the Sole brothers are well known in Edinburgh, well known in Scottish cricket. Of course, their famous dad, David was always a person on a lot of people's screens back in the day. And it's been amazing to see the young brothers actually represent their country. So yeah, it's a good one for me today. I suppose it's a chance to see what they're up to now and get their story. Gents, thanks for coming along. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All the way from Australia. Chris, how's life in Australia?
Very good, very good. Thanks, Ryan. And it's good to tune in and hear some familiar Scottish voices as well.
Do you get much stick out there, mate, for the Scottish accent yet, or what's going on?
I do. I tell you who's the worst as well. It's actually my boss at work.
Was he?
Whenever I'm complaining about something, he'll just say, "Sorry, mate, you're going to have to say that again in English." I just didn't get a word of that in. It just sends me up the wall as well. So it pushes
it follows us wherever you go in the world, the Scottish accent. But people always associate it with being friendly. That's always a good. That's always a good thing. But they never really understand anything. True. So, how's whereabouts in Australia is it? Yeah.
So I'm in Bendigo at the minute, which is in Victoria. It's about an hour and a half from Melbourne, which in terms of Australia is pretty short travel. Yeah. That's almost local. So I've been there for 2 years, just a tick over 2 years, and loving it at the minute. Gets pretty warm in the summer though. 40 degrees we had last weekend. So
going back to the Scottish accent, I remember obviously being a lad from Kelso, and my accent had to change quite a lot when I joined the Grange. But when I went over as a 19-year-old lad to Sydney, I remember the boy said, "Listen, mate, you're gonna have to slow down a bit here. Like, I haven't got a clue what you're saying." So I know the feeling, mate. But yeah, listen,
I never understood you half the time, let alone people from abroad.
Everyone always wondered how I ended up with the Grange. Never mind, lads. Listen, I want to dig deep and I suppose go back to the start a little bit, because sport was obviously massively in your guys' blood. You were brought up. Your dad was obviously a Lion and a famous Scotland rugby player. What was it like back in the day? Can you remember? When you were coming through school. What was it like then?
Do you want me to
go ahead on this one? Yeah.
From my point of view, or from Chris's point of view?
What was it like? Obviously, there's only a couple of years in difference. What was it like for coming up through Merky? Was it? Did you get much sort of? Was everyone sort of saying, "Oh, your dad's this, your dad's that"? Did it sort of bring any pressures from an early age?
I think that came more through prep school. Everyone in prep school really knew who David Sole was, and so you turn up at a rugby match and they expect big things because you're son of this Scottish legend, and they're like, "He's my dad." But yeah, they're like, "What's it like having a famous dad?" I'm like, "Oh, he's my dad." That's about it most of the time. But I think most of the pressure came from trying to be better than Chris, if I'm being honest. For me,
What's
anyway.
the difference between you and age? Sorry.
2 and a bit years.
20. Yeah.
Okay. So very competitive, I'd imagine, at home.
Definitely growing up.
Yeah, and I was always better as well. So yeah.
Well, I kept playing in your team, Chris. Yeah.
But it was definitely more through prep school that you'd recognise the stuff around dad and things. Because it was still closer, and he was still in the sort of the rugby scene a bit as well. I was still doing commentary and a lot of writing on rugby back then, and you get people crossing the street to come and say hello and things. And the older we got, and the further away that game in 1990 when they won the Grand Slam was, the less and less people you notice coming across the street to say hello to. Maybe he's getting old and more wrinkles and he's less recognisable, but no, it certainly happened a lot at prep school.
They'll be expecting of that, the white band around his head covered in blood, still walking around when he's...
Yeah, it's a bit harder to recognise him in the suit.
Did your dad push you at rugby, lads, when you were at school? Was it rugby, or were you quite lucky being at Merky? Was it, could you do any sport?
Not at all. No, well, Dad played pretty much every sport under the sun when he was young as well. He was mad on his cricket too. Hence why he loves to come and watch cricket and things as well. And our granddad was a massive hockey player. Tom and I were pretty big hockey players when we were at prep school, and then that sort of took a sideline when we went to Merchiston, where there wasn't much of a hockey scene, and he played 2 terms of rugby. So it was more Merchiston that pushed the rugby side of things, being such a rugby orientated school and having a lot of success and producing a lot of internationalists and things from that school. It was that it's a big sort of culture at Merchiston to be in the sort of rugby scene of things, but it's a bit of a shame because their cricket's a bit of a backseat in the summer, but they've got such a strong cricket scene as well, but it just doesn't get the same sort of airtime as the rugby does there.
Did you boys, was there a chance you might have played rugby, or was the talent always more towards the cricket side of things?
I don't think there was ever a point where I was going to be playing rugby professionally, if I'm being honest.
Did you just not enjoy it that much, or?
No, I did until I was about 15, and then I had a conversation with the director of sport saying that I wanted to quit rugby and play cricket, which he took him back a bit, and he was like, "You're on here on a rugby and cricket scholarship, so you can't just drop one of your sports." But it paid out in the end, and like they managed to work around it, thankfully. And I did a lot of work with Stevie Gilmore at the time. He was sort of coming in, coaching and doing his level 3 or level 4, and needed a lad to do some coaching with. And there I was at the perfect time as a 15-year-old to get taken under his wing.
How did Dad feel about it when you came home and you said, "I'm packing it in, Dad"?
He was fine. He was absolutely fine. He said, do what you enjoy, and if you enjoy cricket more than you enjoy rugby, then go for it. So yeah, he always supported everything that we chose to do, and I think that's what has made all of us go into sport at the highest level at some stage in our career.
Yeah, I was going to cover actually, obviously, Jamie and Gemma. It's not very often you get all 4 in the family that get to play sport at the top level, and I know how proud your mum must be. I've seen them down watching you two play cricket. They're obviously absolutely mad when it comes to sport. What was it like, the whole family? Is it, it must be weird sitting around the dinner table saying, well, I performed well today, what about you?
There's not too much of that, actually. There's not too much dick swinging at the dinner table. Because we all know Dad's the king of it anyway. He's got to want to grab that.
That's still the most famous in the family, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily now. You were part of the team that beat England, so you're the more recent celebrity in that front.
I think even in the build up to that England cricket game, they were mentioning Dad's rugby and stuff. They love to squeeze it in somewhere.
You went on TMS during the interval to do a stint on the radio for them, like whilst Chris was getting ready to come out and bowl.
So he was in good form. He was in good form that day. It was good, but I know we might go into touch on that. But no, it's just interesting to hear. It's like Flanners was saying, crazy sport in the house, but not just all play sport. You're all high achievers in the sport, so it must be quite competitive. You must all drive each other, but it doesn't sound like you're all trying to get one over. Well, apart from yourself, you did mention that you do try and get one over your brother. That was the chat. But I can imagine that as a younger brother, you'd always be trying to strive to challenge your older brother.
Yeah, I just wanted to play with him in the end.
Oh, that brotherly love, man.
Even though I cost him a fifer on the honours board at Murky, but yeah.
Absolute soda he dropped as well.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I was going to say, so I take it that was the first sniff of cricket, wasn't it? Being at Murky, that was when you were first started up. That's where it all started for you. It wasn't any younger than that. Was it straight in Murky? Yeah.
Yeah, but played at Cargerfield as well. So Cargerfield Prep School. We started there, and older brother Jamie had played through prep school, and when he moved on to Glenalmond as well. So we pretty much played every sport Jamie had played or had started playing. We'd be like, oh, we want to start that. So we'd probably get a bit of a head start starting some different sports and playing them, because we'd always be down the park with a beach cricket set or something, or a rugby ball or hockey sticks or whatever we got for Christmas that year. Yeah. So we've always played. I think I played my first game when I was 9.
Yeah.
That's what I remember, my first game, 9 years old, where I used to have to wear shorts on the field rather than proper whites and things.
Well, you'd like that, Chris. You're a bit of a character in the field. You'd quite like dressing up like a clown.
Well, to get these pins out in the sun, mate, it's a waste otherwise.
Did when you guys sort of play like sort of competitive cricket in terms of representative stuff? Was it Scotland 17s, 19s, South, East sort of stuff? When did you start cracking into that?
Oh, it was that festival, East, West, South, and North, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I like under 12s at Murky, actually. Yeah, that was probably my first taste. I remember you played that as well, Chris, because I came to watch. And you got player of the tournament, didn't you? Something like that. Yeah, that's back when I was a genuine all-rounder, and I was coming in and batting at 4, and unbelievable opportunity. But I played under 12 Scotland as well, and Macca was our coach at the time. And I can't believe that I went from being coached by Macca when I was 11, 12 years old to sharing a changing room and celebrating.
I can imagine that's quite a different experience.
It was pretty funny to compare the two.
Especially when he was your coach one day, the next day he's trying to show his watch in the film. I was going to say, mate, that's you do all. Sorry for picking on you here, Solman, but you always fancy yourself as a batsman, didn't you? It's funny you mentioned that there. You always creep your way up the order. I notice you're still bowling quite reasonably quick in Australia. Have you sneaked up the order yet, mate? You're a batting all rounder again.
It's unbelievable. I'm going to have to move club to get more opportunities somewhere. I keep on telling the captain that I'm out the door soon if I don't get a chance. We've got an unreal batting lineup at my current club, Strathdale Maristians. I'm batting at 10 or 11 in games, but I think our bottom 4 batsmen have only had 2 hits each this year out of 12 rounds of cricket. So, no, it's been a bit redundant. The
chance will come, and when it comes, make sure you get a 50, and then you can really ramp it up with the captain.
I know. Well, I've not been out this year.
You'll have a collapse. It will happen.
I know. I'm sure I'll get a chance, and I'll probably get a good nut or something, or I'll fall out to the deep second ball.
The captain reminds you of all the chat you've been giving him and says, "Please never discuss that with me again, mate."
Yeah.
To be honest, I have to admit, Chris, you've got probably one of the better straight drives I've seen, lofted straight drives I've seen. But my early memories with Tom would be, I suppose, T20. Was it Murgatroyd finals? Tom, I think I'm pretty sure reverse sweep someone for 6 in that game, and I always thought he was just off spinner, but that was when I first remember thinking this lad can actually bat. I don't know if you remember that.
Was that over in the West at Polk or something? Yeah. I remember that. I was getting to Dale, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was against the dirty nails that nobody likes through Nice. I was going to go into a bit of banter, and if people didn't know, but Chris, you took a bit of time out. I mean, you took time out of cricket after obviously finishing up at Hampshire. You went to Australia. What's it like to be back now, mate? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's good. After I finished at Hampshire, I sort of almost. I wouldn't say burnout, because it's not like I was just absolutely fried or anything. It was just very different motivation when playing cricket there. Mm-hmm. And often, especially the later half of a season and things, you realise that every time you're going on a pitch to bowl, you're bowling for a new contract, which is a very different motivation to any previous game, or walking on the pitch for Scotland. You play for so much pride and wearing that jersey and things. But then playing at Hampshire, I was like, oh, you're playing for your living here, actually. Which is certainly a very different pressure, especially in sports. Not often one people would externally associate with like someone actually playing that they're playing for their living. Mm-hmm. And then coming over to Australia was just a bit of a step back. So I came over and I played a season in Melbourne, which was all right. I was still playing good cricket and things, and I was coming off 2 seasons with Hampshire. I was in probably the best nick I'd been, was bowling quick and things, but I just didn't carry on like the momentum I had. I just sort of maybe run out of gas a bit after getting released and things. And it's a big disappointment to try and overcome and things, and sort of thinking, what do I do next and stuff. And it was just, a good time for me to just say, oh, I'm going to go ahead and work on getting my my permanent residency in Australia. My partner's obviously Australian and things, so had to happen at some point or another. But yeah,
I was going to delve deeper into it a little bit. Obviously, I'll take you back to some better times, and I suppose make both of your, I'll come back to the sort of trials and tribulations of county cricket. And it must be so difficult for a lot of people, being released, and both of you have experienced that. But let's go back to a little bit more exciting times. So you both came up through the ranks. You've been in the squad, and lucky enough to make your debuts. I know, Tom, your debut was in Ireland 2018, and Chris, you were UAE 2016. Take me back, Tom, to when you made your debut. How did you feel, mate? Tell me a little bit about the game.
I mean, it was nice to be in the UAE to play against them. So it was nice and warm, thankfully, and not raining in Ireland. But no, it was good. It's sort of a culmination of a good season before with Northamptonshire and making my debut against South Africa, actually, and doing well in a game against them where we were sort of dead and buried and almost got us over the line, sort of thing, where coaches started to raise an eyebrow and say, oh, this lad can play when given the opportunity, sort of thing. I think over that winter I was up in Edinburgh and did a lot of work with Grant at the time, talking about my game, where I am at, and there was a spot going. I think there was an injury. I think the late Conor Lang might have been injured and couldn't go during the tour or something like that, or he might have just been diagnosed, actually, which is obviously terrible news. But it was my opening that I got and tried to take with both hands. But I just remember my first ball against Boyd Rankin. I've played against him before because he was at Warwickshire, obviously, but he was bowling a bit heavier with a white ball than he was in red ball cricket, that's for sure. And yeah, wrapped one on the glove and ended up chipping a bone in my hand. First ball I faced. So I only ended up playing the one game in that series, little series, but came out to bowl and had Sterling and Balbirnie as the first 2 wickets, and couldn't really ask for much more. Like, striking it over 100 and took a twofer with a chip bone in my hand, and didn't play the rest of the series, so I had a nice little holiday. So yeah, I can't really complain.
And you didn't do yourself,
about my first taste.
Didn't do yourself any bad either by
No.
with the ball, so you were always going to get a chance to come back in from there at some point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think from that game, probably, and the work that I'd done during the winter, got me to those qualifiers in Zimbabwe after that. And then the ball sort of kept rolling after that.
That's where I came across you properly. First time getting to see you have a ball, and you were really tidy. I remember it was all you stayed on a West Indies game in particular. You bowled a really, really tight spell. I was really impressed by your maturity in that game.
Cheers.
Welcome.
Chris, your debut?
Yeah, through in Ayrshire.
What a place. Beautiful.
Nice. And typically, as you know, when you go through there, it always rains, and it did. So I was playing that. I'm in my first class debut. I remember Blaney had handed me my cap and made a bit of a speech. He was almost welling up and things. So I'd done a lot of work with Blaney in that sort of build up into making my debut. Done a lot of work on bowling and things. And last 3 years leading into it, I've been in and out with injuries. Had a shoulder injury where I didn't play any sport for like 6 months and things, and then and we managed to get the chance to bowl straight up, and we bowled first and stuff. And I think I had one definite appeal that should have been given out, and it wasn't. I can't remember who was umpiring my end. I don't know if it's Alex. Anyway, I've obviously got over it anyway, but it then just poured down for the rest of it. I remember going out for a massive night and playing a rain card during my first class debut. And, I can't remember what it's called through there, Furies or something. And I remember playing a rain card there after day one, and because it just hosed down all day and the puddles on the outfield getting under the covers. Then turning up the next day and the sun was shining. I'm going, no, it can't be. We're going to get back on to play here. But then the game ended up getting called, and then we actually rolled through to Edinburgh for the 2 sort of ODI games and getting a chance in one of those, and finally managing to get my first international wicket, which was a strangle down the leg side, a real classic dismissal.
Doesn't say that in the scorebook, mate.
Exactly, caught behind.
I think I beat you on that, Chris. I've got a stump to pull wide. Even better.
It does say that I think it does say that in the scorebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, who's the instigator for the nights out there? Who was that? Who were you drinking with back then?
I've never taken much persuasion, to be fair. So no, they'll remain anonymous on this occasion. just for being diplomatic and things.
Mark Watt and Richie Berrington.
There would be a few culprits in there. Usually the typical team.
I don't know what it is about. I made my first class debut at Ayr against Afghanistan as well, and I remember getting absolutely bladdered in that nightclub in Ayr.
I played that game as well, but not that I was taking part in the antics of your referring to. Yeah, it was. I remember that game. Was your debut then? Chubby got 50, didn't he, in a second?
I'll quickly before this is not about me. I'll give you a funny story though. So playing football in the warm up, rolled my ankle, and I remember Juddy goes, "Juddy, get on with it. Get it strapped up. You'll be fine, mate. Get on with it." So I'll get it strapped up. Can't feel it. It's the size of a balloon. Get to 29, Hamid Hassan's bowling quick in that, Shapur's bowling decent. Hit a ball out to sort of the offside boundary. It's an easy 3, right? Easy 3. I run 2. I turn and shout yes. I've got halfway down the wicket. The guy's thrown it, and it seamed all the way from the middle. Started in the middle of the pitch, seamed the whole way. Direct hit out by 10 yards. Steindl mental. Juddy throwing pads at me and everything. What are you bloody playing at? So that's my memory. That's my memory.
You're having a laugh. It was never 3.
Oh, mate, it was terrible. Actually, Mark Watt, I asked Mark Watt for a little bit of dirt on both of you, actually, just before we get into, maybe your county cricket days and then that famous English victory at the home of cricket, the Grange. But Mark was pretty poor, actually. He came up with one. It was in Dubai. He said that Chris is very, very good at putting on different accents, impersonation, and maybe wearing wigs in Barasti Bar. Would you like to fill us in on that, Solly?
That's about 6 different stories he's rolled into one. I'm pretty sure I'm squeaky clean, actually. No.
How about we start with asking you? So, what are the accents you can do?
It's not so much accents. It's a routine that Stuart Whittingham and I materialised whilst sitting on the sideline during their first class game against Ireland. So we were playing Ireland in Dubai, first class match. After the first innings, which we'd actually rolled them for 250, and it was a flat deck, and we were like, oh, we've done pretty well there. And Stu and I are sort of sitting chatting, and then suddenly wickets falling, and before we know it, we're rolled well under 250, and we're back in the field bowling again. And Stu managed to get 5 wickets in the second dig, and we're still well behind. I think they only got 220 the second dig, but we're still a fair bit behind the pace, but it's not beyond us or anything. And then typically we lose 4 wickets real quick, and it looks like we're going to finish this 4-day game inside 3-day games, and we're going to have an extra day up our sleeve. And everyone's immediately thinking, Barasti's going to get a workout tonight. That'll be good. And Stu and I used to talk a lot of shite on the sidelines, but this was one of our better ones of doing a little role play. It's like, when we go to Barasti's, we're not going to say we're from the Scotland cricket team. We need to come up with something better than that. And this actually comes off the back of advice that my dad gave to my big brother about telling girls on a night out, you're not a rugby player. And so Jamie used to claim that he was like a marine biologist and stuff like that. So Stu and I had said, why don't we pretend we're the McCormack brothers from the deep south in America, and we're just over on business, and we're coming over with Red Bull to do a ranching show in Dubai, because there's all sorts of rogue stuff like that in Dubai. And to be honest, we weren't very good at holding character after 5 minutes. So we got to Rasties. Doesn't help with one of the teammates, like Lucy, coming up saying, "Lads, what do you want for drink? I'll get this one." And we're trying to pretend we don't know him as well.
He can't hide his accent. He couldn't hide his accent.
No.
Possible.
And
No, that wasn't the axe.
got one. I was going to ask you, did it work? But we won't ask that question.
I definitely didn't.
Tom, Mark mentioned something about you dance pretty well with sea lions in South Africa. Some performance.
Oh, gee. So before this qualifier's just gone, T20s, we were in Durban for our little pre-tour getaway before a little bit of team building, a little bit of training, and a few warm-up games. And so we went on a team building trip to, I think it was Ushaka Aquarium, where we did a dive with sharks and stuff like that. And a few of us went to this bigger open theatre bit, and it was a dolphin show. And I'd been out the night before, so I was half cut still. And that's when sort of I don't give a shit on what anyone thinks about me, sort of thing. And they announced something over this tannoy, and party rock anthem started playing, and I just sort of saw people started dancing. So I figured out that it was like a dance off sort of thing, and so yeah, I just started dancing, rocking. Dancing to the party rock anthem. There's this big screen which has a camera following.
It should be added, Thomas got shocking moves as well.
Yeah.
Is there any footage?
I do, but I own it. I own my narrative.
Can we somehow get the footage? Is there a possibility of getting the footage of this? Did anyone record this?
Yeah, ask Hamza and Safi.
I'll work on that. I'm going to work. I need to work on that. We need to bring a little snip. We need to bring the clip up just after this.
Yeah, I think I have like a 4-second clip on my phone, but that's enough. That's more than enough.
I've seen you dance moves plenty of times anyway, and fingers and all these dodgy places. I know.
Yeah. So after like a minute and a half of dancing, it went on for ages. I was starting to run out of moves. They announced and this camera guy came up to me, and I was on the big screen, and they announced over the microphone, "Congratulations, you've won the chance to feed and kiss a dolphin." so yeah, there I was, half cut, lost my voice from the night before, went up, sat in the center stage whilst this dolphin show was going on, and then got to.
You were the attraction. You were actually getting part. You were part of the show all of a sudden.
Yeah, I was part of the show.
Brilliant.
I was mortified when I saw that Shane and Smudger and I think were up in the top of the stand, and not realizing who was sat in the middle of the stage when it was me going up to feed this dolphin. But yeah, got my kiss with the dolphin.
Listen, you can't be that bad a dancer, mate. Good play.
Oh no, I was. I definitely am.
Clearly, that you were that bad that it earned you the prize. So that's nothing to be ashamed of, mate.
I think they gave it for enthusiasm rather than for actual dance moves.
There's a common theme here, isn't there? Drinking, cricketers, having a bit of nights out. So I want to ask about, how was the hangover after you beat England at the home of cricket? Can you tell us about that day, lads? Because I remember watching it quite vividly. And the only thing I really seem to remember from that day is your mum and dad's blazers. But the cricket was good, but the blazers certainly stood out the most. Tell me about the day.
Yeah, it was a good one, a bloody good one. The game. It's funny. The game, I don't remember too much from the game, just like actual snippets and things.
Yeah.
I remember not bowling very well, or bowling my first over and thinking that's hitting top of off, and it getting just punched through the cover for 4, and I was like, Jesus, this is.
It was coming onto the bat. It was coming onto the bat so nicely.
Yeah, and then I remember fielding like third man or something the next over when I wasn't bowling, next to the groundsman, who pretty good mates with have helped him over the years on the ground, saying, "What have you done?" It's like it's going to be over 700 runs today. It's absolutely ridiculous. But and then also the other really vivid memory I have is Safi taking that final wicket. I was fielding mid off, and then just thinking, "Oh, we've won." Starting to run in, not sprinting in or anything, but running at a fair clip. And just getting like lapped by blokes topless with a beer in the hand, going, "You fucking beauty!" Flying past. I was like, "What is this?" It was unreal. And
you were next to him then. You were a mid off. Was there any word? Did you know he was going to go for the? I think he'd said something about Kyle had said to bowl a length ball. Did he have a word with you to say he's going to try the Yorker?
Safi's a funny one. Because he loves to talk about what he's going to do as well. And I used to always stand at mid-off when I played with him. And he used to just say, "Oh, Chris, just tell me, always hit hard length or hit the pitch or something," because it's like his little thing, his little idiosyncrasy to help him bowl the ball or finish his action and stuff. But he was just, it's on. I mean, he got the ball tailing. As soon as he gets his tail in, he's going to be bowling whole and he's going to be very hard to get out. And geez, it's some Yorkie bowled as well.
Really was.
But yeah, at mid-off there, I just remember about there being 20 little kids saying, "Do you reckon you're going to win?" and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know, mate. Plunkett's smashing it. They've got plenty of people left in the shed.
Let's be honest. While Moeen Ali was still in, he should have really technically been able to see them, and then Mark Watt getting him changed the complex there.
As a bit of a coach killer, his shot as well, Moeen as well to get out there.
The game was up and down and like a knife edge. I remember when obviously the batting was sensational. Calm's knock was unbelievable, wasn't it? What an innings will never be forgotten. But and then obviously to finish the innings so well it did. But for me, Bairstow came out. Bloody hell, he came out the trap. Didn't he get 100? Didn't he?
Yeah.
He could have got 200 and something the way he was going.
20th over.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then he threw it away.
I remember you were talking about, Tom. You were saying, so I get confused sometimes. Yes, sorry. Sorry, lads. You were talking about when you came into bowl, and I remember it well because you were bowling decent mid 80 clicks. You were getting mid 80 or just above, but it was coming onto the bat and it was going quicker off the bat and hitting the fence. And I was thinking to myself, where does he bowl? I mean, if you try to go too full and you hit half volley at that point, you're going to go. Length balls are going. What do you do in those situations? What goes through your mind when you're under that kind of pressure?
Yeah, because I was thinking I've literally got to bowl my best ball every ball here. So margin for error was tiny. It's like you miss either side. You've got a bloke who's on his way to his third 100 in a row, who's going to put you away, and you've got Jason Roy at the other end who's never going to die wandering either. So it was just more about trying to bowl my best ball to get a dot, and not even think about I've got to take a wicket this ball. It's I knew that if I got an accumulation of dots, I'd be more likely to get a wicket. But geez, it was hard to think where those dots were going to come from at some point. Yeah,
that was incredible. What was the Flower of Scotland like after that?
It's pretty good. I reckon half people's voices were going halfway through and stuff as well. But no, it was pretty good in the change room because we've been out on the ground for ages to finally get back in the rooms.
It must have been a nice hangover. Was the hangover good the next day, mate? You get smashed?
It's pretty good. I remember Grant Badburn afterwards, he sort of sat in the change room having a little bit of a debrief. And he just goes, "Man at night, man in the morning." And then that was it. He walks away. And so it was like, so I remember Watty, like a typical Watty, go, "What does that mean?" It's like, you got to turn up to training in the morning because we were booked in for training the next morning. Because we had Pakistan and 2 T20s to follow.
Right. You couldn't really go too hefty. I bet you still did, but you had to good call by the coach that.
Yeah, it rained the next morning, so we were all pretty happy. We didn't have to train. There were some sore heads, I can tell you that much. I remember being, with a couple lads, three or four lads topless in Castle Street. Someone's got a bottle of something in their hand as well. Yeah, the usual.
What time did your dad make it till that day? Because, I mean, it was an early start. He was on, I'm sure there's a couple of drinks being had in the sun very early doors.
Yeah. No, I think he went pretty well. So he would have been pretty emotional as well.
Yeah,
It was a great day. It was a great day because they got your family really, really involved. It was, they were going to him regularly for updates, and he was confident throughout. He was like, we should win,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't sharing his confidence at that point. I was a bit on the edge of my seat, but he was confident throughout.
Yeah, maybe he knew something we didn't, but.
Tom, going back to you, mate, was Grant give you your debut as well? Was it so both of you?
Yeah, it was.
Grant? What was he like for you? Because I've heard obviously really good reports about Grant. Shakey's done an amazing feature on him as well. What was he like for your career, Tom?
I found him hard to read to begin with. So there were always like a couple Northants second 11 games against Scotland A and things like that. So there was one game where I was meant to join the Scotland side for the last day because I was coming back from an injury. And Northants wanted to trial someone. So I was getting cricket no matter. I found him hard to read until I actually came up for a winter in Edinburgh, and where I finally managed to make a bit more of a working relationship with him. And then, after that, we were fine, got on, and he was quite good with his, obviously being a spinner himself, quite good in the sense that he was able to guide me a bit in what he thought I should be trying to do, and like variations and just a sounding board for me, because I've always been sort of I can figure it out myself sort of player, and like we'll use someone as a sounding board to bounce ideas off, and they'll either go yes or no, and then I can give my reasoning and whatnot behind what I'm thinking, sort of thing. But he was really good for that, and sort of made a big emphasis on my batting as well to keep going with that, to become a genuine all-rounder, which I'm slowly getting towards now. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. You certainly got all the shots, mate. And Chris, how do you find Grant?
Yeah, handed me my debut, so I'll certainly never forget him for that. But I was like, it's funny, I've been thinking about it a fair bit the last, I reckon, month or so. Definitely, I was like a real temperamental mentally and things. And so I'd be, in terms of emotion, I'd be right at the top, playing, getting selected, bowling well, and then come right down when miss out in 12th man for a game and things like that. And I always find it really hard to see through a coach's perspective why I wasn't playing and things. If I thought I was bowling well, and I just should be on the pitch and playing. And more recently, definitely because I've matured more now, and my game has actually matured, reflect a lot back on what Grant's spoken to me about over the years and the stuff he did with us. But geez, he was just such a good thinking coach, and really turned a corner for that Scotland team at the time as well, in terms of probably attitude towards teams that we were playing, and saying, not that we were, we're going to have a crack at beating this side. It's like, we're going to beat this side, and we fully do deserve to beat this side, and we've got all the talent in the world to beat this side. That's when we started putting these performances together, where we're beating Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, England, Ireland on a regular basis, because there's just so much more belief in the group, and a lot of it was just a lot of empowerment to the group, and people sort of handing over the ownership. And as soon as people took the ownership of the jobs and things, results started to come, and performances really changed. It was really interesting, because it's something you don't really realize at the time, but certainly hindsight's sort of 2020 vision, and now that I reflect and look back on it, some bloody good coaching that went on there, for sure.
Yeah, it certainly looked like that from the outside. A Scotland team of old, I wouldn't have seen doing that on the field. Would have went out and maybe got 270, 280 on a good day, and at least had something to bowl at. And England probably would have chased it down in 40, 45 overs. No disrespect to teams of old, but that team looked like they were on a mission that day, and it must have started from the coach. It looked, the confidence of the players going out. Coach had clearly instilled confidence in them to go and play a game. George Munsey, I think he reverse swept the first ball, least kick his first ball for 6, things like that. You wouldn't normally see a Scottish player going out and doing that against England. So no, it was fantastic and great to hear your insight on Grant. I'm glad to hear he's had a good influence on both of you.
In terms of, I want to go. Obviously, that was a big high for Scottish cricket and yourself, Chris and Tom. I want to go back to more recent times. So Hampshire, North Lancs, Tom. To be honest, I was quite shocked actually, mate, he'd been released this year. Obviously, seeing you being in amongst the T20 squad now and then, at a young age, mate, you're only 24. I know it's all right for me now. I can look back, and Chris said that there. You know, you can reflect back on what you've done differently, or maybe your attitude. What does it feel like for you now, mate, having to again, I suppose, kick on again and try and get something else?
It's a strange one for me. So obviously I got called or got suspended from bowling during the qualifiers. So that's sort of still looming over my head a little bit. And I think that was maybe the easy option for Northamptonshire. They do have a few spin bowling all-rounders in their side. The young lad called Saif Zaid came through this year for Northants for sort of the first time in his career. But I think had I been bowling this year and had I been able to get rid of that cloud over my head, the story might have been different and there might have been something for me. I mean, I'm very grateful for them for what they're still doing, and they're still sort of contributing to some coaching and to the cost of the test as well. Which they by no means have to do, but I think because I was under their duty of care, along with Cricket Scotland, they feel like a sense of responsibility to help me get back on my feet for my career. So yeah, like the lockdowns have been a bit challenging. I'm currently bowling in the shed that my parents have out the back of the house and continuing to do all sort of my remedial work. But yeah, it was difficult because I never sort of got to string a few games together. So I started the comp, wasn't required to bat, was coming in as a finisher because I'd done that in warm-up games and practice games and everything, and was in good nick with the bat, to be fair. And being the best fielder in the side, that was sort of my selling point to them. So I didn't put a foot wrong in this first game, but wasn't required to bat because Sterlo hit 80 off 20 balls or something ridiculous like that, as he can be. And yeah, after that, they decided that they wanted to go for Gareth Berg as seamer, who could offer a bit with the ball for the next pitch at home, which obviously is a bit frustrating, but I'm as long as I have like the reasoning why, then I'm happy to carry on. Like running drinks isn't what you want to be doing, but it's something I've gotten used to, and it's trying to provide something or help the team to perform at the best they can. And that's how I sort of see anything I can do to help. If I'm not playing, then I just try my best to be the best I can, rather than sulk and moan about not playing or not getting a string of games together, sort of thing.
Not that I've ever done that at Edmonton or Flanders. We've never had a moan about not getting a game or anything like that. But it's a very for any youngsters watching this, what a fantastic attitude, because you quite easily there could fall into the dumps and feel a bit sorry for yourself. It's a good reason to. Your whole, things have turned upside down a little bit for you. But how have you found the remedial work? And it's a big thing to change something you've been doing in a certain way for a long time. How mentally have you found that challenge? How have you dealt with it?
Oh, there have been good days, there have been bad days. I'd be lying if I'd say that it's all been good. But no, it's trusting a process, and like however long it takes, I know that I'm going to be a better bowler when I come out the other side of it. And like, although it takes 16 balls to pass a test or something like that, that's when the work really starts, is after that, and that's finding a county, performing in games. And so I know that this bit is probably the easier part of the journey. and the harder part is going to be making myself the stable or the staple off-break bowler for Scotland and for counties or for in franchise tournaments potentially. Well, that's the aim anyway. So like there is a focus on end goal, but at the moment it's sort of just trusting that the work that I'm putting in is working, and I can see it's working now. There was the first 6, 7, 8 months of it were sort of not really making any strides, a lot of trial and error, getting down about it a bit, but then playing around a bit by myself during the first lockdown, like something clicked. Like I found a way to bowl with a straight arm, which I probably use as a variation now. I can bowl. I've got other deliveries up my sleeve that I can bowl that I never dreamed of bowling, but it's passing the test is bowling a stock ball 16 times or something like that, and it's just trusting that those little things that I've done are pulling through, and they're creating new motor skills, and that my body's trusting what it's doing, and I don't have to consciously think about it anymore, which is getting there. And I'm sort of off a few steps now bowling, and so it's just putting the last pieces together, hopefully to find that little 1 or 2% now to have. How far
off do you think you are?
It's hard to put a time scale on it, but I'm pushing for March time. I'm been pushing hard this lockdown. Mum and Dad have helped to wherever they can to sort of allow me to bowl in the shed, like finding something that I can put down on the ground so the balls don't get fucked.
Filming as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So I've got tripod film on my phone. Like I use my watch and link it up to my phone so I can do it all myself, sort of thing.
Well done.
Yeah. But so yeah, like it's.
Listen,
best of luck. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you need a walking wicket, I'm just along the road. I was going to say it's quite fascinating that it's a big journey, mate. You know, it's not just maybe getting left out of a squad. You're going through a whole new remodel of your action. If I wanted to go change my golf swing right now, I've tried it. I can't. So it must be mad. Chris, interesting, I think, because you just said something there about you got released for Hampshire. You obviously a bit older now, a bit wiser. That must be quite interesting. I know there's only a couple of years apart in terms of age, but can you relate to your brother a little bit, I suppose, from your experiences as well? Because that must have been tough for you, mate, when that was sort of said that's enough for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I was in a position where I was actually told I was going to get re-signed as well. And it was at a point where I was injured. I'd torn the top of my hamstring tendon, which was made of glass anyway, so it was always something on the go. But they sort of said, don't worry about being injured or rushing back from injury, get your body right, because we're going to have you here next year again. And then didn't peter out that way, which was very frustrating at the time. And I remember being just so wound up about it and thinking, geez, that is just absolute rubbish. How can it be sort of left on those sort of terms and things? And then looking back at it, and it's very interesting. County cricket is very much has a very strong business model next to the actual game that's running, which is something you don't see as much of or look at as much of when you're actually playing the game. But when you take a step back, and especially being in Australia and seeing Shield cricket, first class cricket here, it's very different sort of narrative over here compared to county cricket, where counties really do actually have to work off a pretty strict budget and things like that, and it has to relate to performance and things. So they struggle to invest in much. And a product like me, who I was most likely going to be a white ball player and develop my red ball side of my game, but I was much closer to being a white ball product for them straight away. And as well as having injuries whilst being at Hampshire, you also get your overseas players that come in, and we had some pretty handy ones coming in, the likes of Dale Steyn coming in, who's a similar spot for what I'd be fighting for in the first team sort of thing. So it was very frustrating along the way, but geez, I learned a lot about cricket and a lot about my own game, and got myself into a really sort of strong position to bowl quick regularly and things as well. But yeah, it's a funny grind. They always say it's a big county grind, and it is. It's a lot of cricket, and there's a lot of things that go on whilst you're playing the cricket season. It
must be difficult for a lot of cricketers. You know, the lads get released on a regular basis, don't they? And the money, unless you're at bigger clubs, it's everyone. I suppose the ultimate goal is to play county cricket, but a lot of lads must walk away from their career thinking that wasn't what it was, made out to be.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because you're playing alongside players who've been there since they were 16 when they got signed on their first class contract or their first professional contract, and they've been there for 10 years, and they're only 26 and the same agency, but they've been doing it for 10 years. But it's interesting because you see a lot of other players who were a year behind where you were. So I'd gone down, trialled, and been picked up and signed up on a 1-year deal, and then I got another year deal after that. But you see people coming into the same position as I was 6 months ago, sort of thing, coming in and trying their balls off, trying to get wickets or in games and things and impress. And there's a lot of sacrifice that trialists especially do. And they're saying that I've just given up my job so I can come and trial at a few counties full time, because all the schedule is through midweek. So because you're playing a 3-day game in the middle of the week, there's weekends are sort of redundant. You play a 3-day and then you've got 2 1-days on the end of it, or you've got 2 T20s on the end of it and things. So you're playing potentially 5 days of cricket in the space of 7 days, and there's a lot of cricket. There's no wonder I kept on getting injured.
Too much.
So where are you with your mentality now in relation to cricket? I think you were saying at the start when we came on, you're working out in Australia. You've got quite a good job. What was it, Flan? Is it real estate? You're a real estate man.
Yeah.
Is that looking like it's going to be the new you, and you still play your cricket, or have you still got aspirations to get a chance to play high level cricket?
Well, I've definitely got aspirations to play for Scotland again. Last Christmas Christmas beforehand, when I came back home for Christmas with my partner, have a cold one, and caught up with Shane, who I'd never met before, just for a bit of a coffee, and he said, look, I'm really keen for you to come back and get yourself involved in the Scotland setup and be an Australian-based player, sort of thing, which was a concept that I didn't think was really going to be possible, or had never been an idea that had been floated. Because at the time when I moved out to Australia, Grant Bradburn had just finished up as well, and he'd just gone to Pakistan for a coaching job there. So there was a bit of floating in between different coaches and things as well at the time. So I got a really good opportunity to meet and chat to Shane about that, and he said, no reason why you can't be based in Australia and still play for Scotland. Most of our tours are in Dubai, Halfway Point, or South Africa, or somewhere in between, and there'll be pockets where you sort of come back to Scotland for 3 weeks at a time to play in a series back in Scotland. And I just went, definitely. It was just a no-brainer.
Yeah. And have you got do you think you're going to have quite an understanding employer on that front?
Well, yeah, I went back to my employer, and I've got a very good boss at work as well. And I said, look, I've been given an opportunity to start playing some Scotland stuff again. And it basically wasn't going to be able to balance with work, because the sort of real estate job's quite demanding on time and things. You do a lot of after hours and a lot of weekend appointments and things. And so I was going to finish up work, and I did actually stop and quit work. I was geared up to start the tours with Scotland, because we were due to have a really busy schedule, sort of starting in March. I came over to Spain, flew over for a week's training camp in Spain, so Shane could actually see me play, because he'd never seen me play in the flesh before.
It's a long way to come for a trial.
Yeah, exactly. And I was in the middle of the Australian season, and I knew I was bowling well at the minute. And I went over and I was bowling well. And Shane just got a chance to see me bowl and come and bowl some quick spells in the nets and things and have a bit of a bat. Batting, I'm pretty sure he's particularly impressed with my batting, actually. Flanders would be pleased to know. And he said, "Yep, you're in, especially for the next 2 tours," which was off to Florida straight away, and then Namibia after that, and then COVID-19 worked its magic on the world. So it all got thrown up in the air, and then we're actually in lockdown over here in Australia. So they were very proactive over here on getting into lockdowns and trying to stem the flow or prevent any spread of the virus, and borders of states closed very quickly. So we're actually isolating up at my partner Siobhan's parents' farm in Henty, New South Wales, which has got a population of about 1,500. There's one carpet cricket wicket in the town, sort of thing. And we were up there for a good few months. I was just wondering, every month that went past, I was like, oh, well, we'll be back into we'll get that next Scotland touring, because we've just missed the one to Florida. But we'll be all right for the next one when it clears up in 6 weeks' time. And as we all know, it's rolled on and rolled on. I was very lucky that my boss, when I left, said, if you want to come back at any point, just knock on the door. And so I've gone back to the same mob and things, which has been great.
Good.
I've been very lucky in that respect.
Good. Tom, I think you pretty much summed it up, mate. For you, the future is get back, get bowling, try and get a county cricket career and get back in it, mate, yeah?
Yeah, definitely along those lines. But probably look to play more of the white ball focus again. I'm not closing the door on red ball, but it's safe to say I don't enjoy it as much as I do white ball cricket.
You just
I'm not money motivated, shit. Come on.
Anyone
Love the game.
that says white ball, short format, it's always about the cha-ching.
Nah, it works better around the Scotland.
and it's
yeah.
So lads, there's still a good chance then that we might see both of you at some point playing together in the Scotland team still.
Yeah, yet too.
Hopefully, yeah.
So it's not happening
ticked off the list. No. We've not crossed over, partly because of injury and things.
That happens for you. That'd be a proud day for your dad to sit and watch both boys playing.
Yeah, it'd be about time, I think.
Listen, lads, what I want to do, right? A little bit of fun to finish. Just a little quick fire questions. And this relate to both of you because I know you're pretty loved up at the moment. I think both of you are loved up. Tom, you single? Oh, sheesh. So the first question
should have mentioned me about this before you decided to do this.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask, first question, who's going to be the first person to get engaged? Well, that is Second question, who is the biggest stag?
Oh, me.
The biggest. Well, Tom's got it on his chest, so I suppose it's him, but I think I've played in more successful stag teams.
Oh, Grange under 13s and under 15s, Chris, come on. We made it through to the last 16 or last 8 in the national stuff.
So you won a Scottish Cup, have you not? You not won a Scottish Cup?
Yeah.
Both
I won it with you.
No, I might have been injured.
Do you remember the guy being in your team when you won the Scottish Cup, Flannery?
Tom definitely, but Chris, I can't remember if you won one or not.
I'd done my shoulder, I reckon.
Oh, gosh, that was it. Glass.
Yeah.
I was going to say...
It wasn't a league, and then we won the playoff in Uddy, so I remember that.
Yeah, no, we won quite a lot. It's just what we do, Shaky.
I know, it's quite hard to remember them all, isn't it, Flanners? There's
about
16 T20 titles in there as well.
That's one that's evaded me. Never got played in a Scottish Cup final for Clydesdale, but never.
I think it was 3 years or maybe 2 seasons we went without getting beaten a pink ball game. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's a serious club team, to be fair. Like there were some really good cricketers in there, and obviously young talent as well. And just a quick one to wrap up: who's the longest in the shower?
A good question, actually.
Good question. I like that to finish the faces.
Tom's pretty keen with his soaps and things, so he's.
I can imagine he's in the bathroom for quite a while in the morning with that mullet. Definitely, he spends some time on that.
Nah, that's more after.
Very good, Ryan. Very good.
Get the products in.
Well, lads, listen, I just want to thank you two for coming on and sharing your sort of story with us. Obviously, everyone, hopefully you can follow us on Spotify and subscribe to Shakey's Journeys. We've got some big names coming up as well. Shaky Sporting Journeys. Sorry, mate. Sorry, I better get it right. But Neil McCallum, lads, is on very soon as well. So
he's in good form. He's in good form as well. He was in really good form, so it should be.
Is he not a bit of a skinhead at the moment as well?
Yes,
I'll never, just before you go, because
on Kyle Coetzer is older than bald right now. Very bald. Gavin Hamilton, bald.
I remember Mackett being in Dropkick Murphys with his backpack on, and he was worried about when he was going to get home, so he'd written down all the bus timetable on a piece of paper. Instead of pulling out his iPhone to check the bus times like everyone else, kept on pulling out this piece of paper, and he goes, "Oh no, I've just missed the 11 bus. I'm going to have to get the next one," and put it back in his pocket.
Oh man, who was
looking like Bear Grylls charging around.
Let's talk about a story with these boys after one of the brothers. He said something about. I don't want to bring all the good stuff out now, but you'll need to tune in and listen. I can't remember which one it was, but one of you was mentioned for some antics after a certain Scottish Cup final. It
was Chris straight arming the Scottish Cup final with rum straight down his face, and we had a few naked laps to boot as well. I think there's a few interesting sights at the Stag Park that night.
Listen, lads, it's been a pleasure. You've been both excellent. It's been really good to hear an insight into your journeys, and hopefully a lot more things to be done on the pitch yet. Good luck with your upcoming test, young man. I hope you pass it with flying colours, and hopefully we see you over in Scotland again, running into Bow, and all the best to you boys. All the best.
Cheers.
Thanks very much for having us, Shaky. Cheers, Flannis.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Shaky.